Ready? You can do it. It pushes you out, doesn't it, right? No.
No.
You can do it.
Okay, so here's the background to that video. Many years ago, we hosted a motivational speaker named Fishel Jacobs, who doubles as a rabbi and a renowned martial arts expert. As part of a live demo, I was selected to showcase my karate chops. And as you can see from the video, I failed on my first attempt and succeeded on my second. Here's what made the difference between the two attempts. When I lifted my hand the first time, a voice inside my head said, "You cannot do it." I had felt the strength and thickness of the wooden board, and after a quick assessment, my doubtful mind notified my arm that it probably didn't have what it needed to break through the board. And so it didn't. On the second try, however, I was reminded that just before I'd been called up, a 12-year-old student at our Hebrew school had been called up and broken the same size board. And I realized that I was surely as strong, if not stronger. And hence it was definitely possible for me to succeed. And it was this mental realization and shift that was communicated to my arm. And hence when I raised my arm this time, instead of holding back and not fully investing in the exercise due to a mistaken foregone conclusion, my arm gave it all it got, and I broke through the board. I'm reminded of this event every Hanukkah when I spin the dreidel. You see, the dreidel is essentially made up of a box with a spinning handle on the top and a pointed bottom at the bottom. The base or the box of the dreidel has 4 walls, each displaying a different Hebrew letter that stands for a different Hebrew word that makes up the Hebrew phrase, Nes Gadol Haya Sham. A big miracle happened there. Another way to interpret these 4 letters is that they spell out the rules of the game. If your dreidel falls on a gimel, for example, gimel, which stands for the Yiddish word ganz, which means whole or everything, you take everything in the pot. If it lands on a nun, which stands for nisht or nothing, you do nothing. If it falls on the hay, which stands for halb or half, you take half the pot. And if it falls on the shin, which stands for shtel ein or put in, you must put a few coins into the main pot. But there's a deeper meaning to the dreidel that I want to share with you today. The gimel of the dreidel can also stand for guf, which means body, nun for nefesh, which means soul, the sin for seichel, which means the mind or intellect, and the hey for hakol, which means one's entirety. Hence, each one of the letters and words represents a different dimension of human existence: the physical, the emotional, the intellectual, and the existential. The box of the dreidel represents the psychic box of self-imposed limitations each of us subscribe to. On the physical level, how often do we say, I don't have the time or energy to work on my marriage, on my parenting, on my spiritual life, on my self-development? But let's be real. When it comes to other pursuits, somehow we find the time, we find the energy. For example, you might be unwinding at home after a full day of work and get a call about a unique business opportunity which requires you to fly across the world. What do you do then? Suddenly you find the time and energy you thought you didn't have. And the same is true of emotional, intellectual, and existential orientations. How many self-limiting beliefs and false narratives do we adopt, which end up holding us back from living our true potential? And here we come to the spinning dreidel. According to the Kabbalah, the square represents limitations, and the circle, which has no beginning or end, represents infinity. When you observe a spinning dreidel, you see something that was once a square suddenly transformed into a circle. And you realize then that so often the lines between the squares and the circles of life are not fixed but fluid. They aren't real but imaginary. And this is the essence and energy of Hanukkah, the festival of miracles and lights. For what is a miracle if not a reminder and a realization that the seemingly fixed lines and limitations of the natural order are merely a mask that conceals the infinite light and energy force at the heart of the universe. So as you spin your dreidel this year, internalize the spiritual truth that you have the power to shed your fixed mindset and scarcity complex, and take a moment to recognize the innate, unlimited potential we each possess within. Happy Hanukkah.